The sun had barely climbed over the quiet suburban street when a group of rumbling Harley-Davidsons pulled to a stop beneath the tall maple trees. Their engines silenced, and the world fell still. A line of leather-clad bikers stood like dark sentinels, tattoos gleaming under the soft morning light. And in front of them, on a little pink bicycle with a for sale sign hanging crookedly from the handlebars, stood a teary-eyed little girl in a navy blue polka-dot dress. Her small hands gripped the handles tightly, her lip trembling. "Buy my bike, sir," she whispered through sobs. "Mommy hasn't eaten in 2 days. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of humanity, take a moment right now to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to the channel, because this story is one you won't forget." The bikers exchanged confused glances, unsure what to say. Their leader, a broad-shouldered man with silver hair and tattoos crawling down his arms, knelt slowly before the child. His name was Bear, a man who looked every bit as fierce as his name suggested. Yet at that moment his voice softened, like a father's. Behind the girl, a woman sat wrapped in a blanket on the curb, pale and tired, watching silently. Her eyes were hollow, the kind that had seen too many nights without rest. The bikers realized this wasn't a joke or some trick. This was desperation standing before them. Bear gently asked the little one why she wanted to sell her bike. Through sniffles, she said that her mommy hadn't eaten in 2 days because there wasn't enough food left. The woman had lost her job after the local diner closed down, and when she couldn't pay the rent, the landlord threw them out. The only place they had left was her brother's old car parked down the street. She tried to find work again, but no one wanted to hire a single mother with a child. So she went hungry so her daughter could have 1 meal a day. The bikers stood frozen, their tough faces now shadowed with emotion. They weren't just any bikers. They were members of a local motorcycle club called the Hell Saints, known around town for charity rides and community work, even though their rough looks often made people fear them. And here they were, standing before a child trying to sell her only toy so her mother could eat. Bear felt a lump rise in his throat. He reached into his wallet, but something inside told him money alone wasn't enough. He wanted to know who had let this happen, who had taken everything from her. The mother's name was Sarah. She'd lived in that neighborhood for years with her late husband, Mark. After Mark's sudden passing in an accident at work, she received a small compensation amount, enough to keep her going for a few months. But then the landlord, the very same man who used to smile and wave at her husband, began asking for extra fees and pressuring her to sign new papers she didn't understand. She later found out he had forged her signature, raised her rent, and taken most of her savings. When she couldn't pay, he evicted her with only 2 days' notice. Sarah had tried to go to the police, but she didn't have proof or the money for a lawyer. So she kept quiet, hoping things would somehow get better. As Sarah spoke, tears rolled down her cheeks and her daughter clung to her leg. Bear looked at his brothers, each one of them burning with quiet fury. They'd all seen injustice before, but hearing how someone preyed on a grieving mother for profit made their blood boil. Without a word, Bear stood, his boots crunching on the dry leaves as he turned to his men. They knew what that look meant. Within minutes, the bikers started their engines again. The sound thundered through the neighborhood, a storm of roaring justice rolling out. They found the landlord's office downtown, a smug man sitting behind a polished desk, pretending to be respectable. When the bikers walked in, the man nearly fell out of his chair. Bear leaned over the desk and dropped Sarah's eviction papers in front of him. "You stole from a widow and her little girl," he growled. "You're going to make this right," the landlord stammered, trying to explain, but the bikers had already called a lawyer friend, a veteran who handled cases for people like Sarah pro bono. Within hours, they uncovered every illegal document the landlord had forged. The man's empire of deceit began to crumble that very day. When the bikers returned to Sarah and her daughter, the little girl was still sitting on her pink bike, staring down the street, hoping they'd come back. And when she saw the motorcycles return, her face lit up through the tears. Bear handed Sarah an envelope. Inside was not just enough money for food and rent, but the signed papers showing the landlord had been forced to return what he stole Sarah couldn't believe it. She covered her mouth, trembling as tears streamed down her face. Bear simply nodded and said, "You don't owe us anything, ma'am. Just promise you'll keep standing strong for her." From that day, Sarah's life slowly began to rebuild. The bikers helped her move into a small rental house, stocked her kitchen with groceries, and even set up a fundraiser that brought in enough for her to open a small home bakery. Her cookies and pies became famous around town, and every Saturday morning, the roar of motorcycles could be heard outside her little shop, her unlikely family coming to buy breakfast and check in on her. The little girl, Lily, never sold her pink bike. Instead, she decorated it with small heart stickers and wrote one word on the frame in bright blue marker: hope. Months later, Sarah found out that the corrupt landlord had been arrested for multiple counts of fraud. Justice had come full circle, not from the courts alone, but from the compassion of people who chose to care. The bikers, once seen as rough outsiders, became local heroes. They showed everyone that kindness doesn't always wear a suit and tie. Sometimes it rides on two wheels and carries a heart as big as the road itself. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like the video, share it with friends, and subscribe for more real stories of courage, redemption, and humanity. Your support helps spread these messages to those who need hope the most. And before you go, tell us in the comments, what would you have done if you saw that little girl trying to sell her bike for her mother's meal? Because sometimes it only takes one act of kindness to change someone's entire world.